Okay. Let's start our session. We've got about 10 people online, so we'll just wait for everybody to join in as they become available. Good afternoon, everybody who's managed to join in. I'm hoping you're having a good afternoon. Yes.
Thank you, Enid.
We have a very tight program we're trying to get through in the next 1.5 hours. So a few housekeeping rules. I'm hoping everybody's familiar with Zoom, but if you're not, if you need to make a comment or ask a question, we have a chat session at the bottom. So please type in your questions from there. Try to keep your microphones on mute, just to avoid background noise interrupting with the conversation. We will be trying to monitor we'll be trying to monitor everybody's link to make sure there's no background noise, but it's best if you do the mute. When we will have some sessions where we try to get feedback from the people who are in the group, and during that time you can unmute your microphone and you start to talk. So we have a very tight program, as I mentioned. We're going to start off with some very quick introductions. We'll try to take about 10 minutes on that, and then we'll have a presentation on the Women in Pharmacy concept. Where has this come from? What are we hoping to achieve with this? Then we did complete a survey a few days ago. So Donna will present to us the results of that survey, after which we will have a presentation from our guest speaker, Ms. Jackie Namara Rukare, on networking. And then we will have a conversation, a discussion on feedback from the survey. Where do we want to take this organization, and what do we want to do with it? Yeah. So very quickly, if we can have some introductions. We are right now just about 15 people in the group. Let's start by introducing ourselves as we're in, and we will start with the top of the screen, where we have Farida. So Farida, if you can just introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and then for those who come in, please type in into the group. Tell us your name and tell us what it is that you do.
I think Farida is having trouble with her sound, maybe.
Ah, okay.
So
okay,
maybe I could go first.
Yes, please, Donna.
Yes, I'm sorry I can't turn on my video yet because my connection is still unstable, but thank you all ladies for sparing your Sunday afternoon to join this first of its kind catch-up session. My name is Donna Kusemerera, and I am currently working independently as a consultant, mainly in pharmaceutical supply chain management, but also in other areas of interest like medicines regulation and medicines policy. So,
thank you, Donna. I wouldn't say welcome to this session since you're the one you're responsible for us convening here today. So we're very glad to have you here with us today. Okay, Carmen, would you like to introduce yourself? Or anybody who has got their sound on? Rehema?
I'm called Dr. Gonsha Rehema. Can you hear me?
Yes, Rehema, we hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
we can.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rehema, we can hear you.
I'm called Gonsha Rehema. Currently, I'm working as a community pharmacist and I'm working with Extra Care Pharmacy.
Okay, Rehema, you're welcome.
Most welcome.
Farida?
Farida is not available. Can I introduce myself? Hello.
Yes, please.
My name is Sister Dr. Antonia Makamia. I work as a
Yes, Sister
consultant
Antonia.
in medicine regulation. I also deal with waste management, pharmaceutical waste management. I also lecture at Makerere University until when we were closed by COVID-19. And I also supervise one pharmacy. Thank you.
Welcome, Sister Antonia. Farida, you were speaking, but your volume was not on.
Farida needs to unmute her microphone, I think. Farida, unmute your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, I'm called Farida Hauha. Currently, I'm in private practice. I'm working with Abacus Pharmaceuticals. And at the moment, I do some consultancy work regarding regulatory work on medicines and health-related products. Yeah, I'm happy to be here this evening.
Welcome, Farida. Carmen, you can also type your introduction into the chat. Stella, I'll just call on a people I can see online.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Stella Kibila. I work with a health technology company called Baobab Circle. We support people living with hypertension and diabetes to access affordable healthcare and to be able to remotely manage their vitals. I also run a coaching company called Performance Point International, and we help company executives build high performance teams. I also mentor, and I'm a team leader with a global mentoring initiative called Girls for Girls. Yes, so I'm passionate about healthcare and people development. Happy to be here. Looking forward to a transformative session.
Thank you, Stella. It's always happy to have. We're always happy to have you with us. Daisy, if you could tell us a bit about yourself. Daisy, Esther, Linda.
Yes, hello. I am Daisy Mutavazi, currently an intern pharmacist at UHI Vendor Heart Institute. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome, Daisy. Okay, is there anybody else who's ready to introduce themselves? Please type into the chat, even if you've introduced yourself, please just type a brief about yourself into the chat so that we can have a record of this. We can have a record of this afterwards. So let me ask my co-moderator for today, Harriet, to introduce herself, and then I will introduce myself. Harriet, you need to unmute. Okay.
Let's see. Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Hi,
very clearly.
Harriet. Yes, we can hear you.
Good. I'm called Harriet Bonabana. I work with Philips Pharmaceuticals and Star Pharmaceuticals. I also am a proprietor for Viva Pharmaceuticals. I'm happy to be on this forum and excited about this opportunity to interact with everyone. And I can't wait for the social distancing to, be banished so that we can unite in person, meet and greet, and get acquainted with each other. I can't wait for that moment. I'm so looking forward to that. Over to you, Enid.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Harriet. I'm joining you on that one. I can't wait for this social distancing to be over. My name is Enid Kavunga. I am, in addition to being a pharmacist and covering our community pharmacy, I am a research consultant, and I have my own consulting firm called Akem Consulting, and we spend a lot of our time doing research for development organizations, for social initiatives, both governmental, non-governmental, private sector. And we do this work mostly in Uganda, but we also try to cover the Africa region. So I'm also very excited that we have come to this, we've brought ourselves to this session from the inception where we got a text message on WhatsApp and were added to a group. And we have had many calls that we should actually try to do something in face-to-face. And I'm very excited that this session is actually happening today. We have a guest speaker with us whom Donna will introduce just before she gives us her presentation. But Jackie, I think you can see that the group that you have here is very, is a bit of a mixed bag. We are all women, we are all pharmacists, but then there's a lot of fields that we've all brushed out into. Yeah, there are people who are in all sorts of areas, and this is very exciting because we hope that we will be able to share, we hope that we will be able to learn, and we hope that we will be able to grow together. Yeah, I think most of us know of the African proverb which says that if you want to go very far, go alone. Rather, if you want to go very fast, go alone. But if you want to go very far, go as a group. So I'm excited for this group, and I'm excited for what we are hoping to do with it. And I'm looking forward to the conversation that we are going to have today. Once again, if you have a question, please, everybody, please make sure to put your details in the chat section while the presentation is going on, or while the discussion is going on. If you have something that you would like to mention, type it into the chat and we will keep up with what is going on there as well. So I'd like to get Farida to tell us a little bit more about what this Women in Pharmacy concept is and what we hope to achieve with it. So Farida, are you able to share your screen? Farida, you need to unmute.
Hello.
Yes, Farida, we're hearing you.
Okay. I'm going to mention a few things about women in pharmacy. Unfortunately, I didn't print out the slides, but I'll be as quick as possible because I have only 5 minutes, I was told. Women in pharmacy, I'll give a short background about women in pharmacy, which says that women have served widely as pharmacists. However, as with the women, many jobs like women in pharmacy have been restricted. For example, in 1964, whereby there was American Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was enacted, they tried to outlaw refusing to hire women because of their sexual orientation. Even today, not all countries ensure equal employment opportunities for women. You find that it's a challenge in some countries. For example, we have countries like Cameroon, in West Africa, whereby for a woman to get a job, you get authentication or approval from the husband first. So you find that worldwide, we have a challenge as women in competing for those kind of jobs. Then also there is National Association of Women Pharmacists, which was founded in London on the 15th of June, 1905. They also came up with an association of women pharmacists, and they were able to grow far as a team. And there was a survey which was carried out, and they found out that only 2% of female pharmacists own pharmacies, despite making up 62% of the workforce. We contribute 62% of the workforce, but at the moment, the female pharmacists that own pharmacies are only 2%. Whereas, according to the survey of the General Pharmaceutical Council, found out that 13% of the men are pharmacy business owners. 13% against 2% for female owned pharmacies amidst all these job opportunities that we get. So that means that male pharmacists are more likely to own their own business compared to female colleagues, despite being many in the profession. And according to the results, you find that men have a better opportunity of owning these pharmacies, and they are more aggressive than women. And here we need to work together so that we try to fill in those spaces that are not occupied at the moment as women. And of course, we are talking about being together to have a greater voice as women in pharmacy. And in that way, we shall ensure that people are informed, recognized, and appreciated. And also, we will also look at benchmarking female pharmacists who are doing us proud as professionals. We've tried to receive updates from Donna on some of these successful pharmacists, and we've learned a lot. Then also, we are looking at advocating for ourselves on issues that concern us as women. This is that platform which we are going to use to frontier our issues as women. Then also we are looking at to provide peer support and mentorship for each other. That is one of the issues that we need to address as women. Then also to share opportunities for career advancement. That is how we hope to appear greater as women in pharmacy. Then together we are visible, and we believe that when we are together, we shall be visible and we can have a greater impact. And that is even one of the goals for these women in pharmacy. And in that way, we shall maximize our contribution as professionals and women interested in the profession. Then also we shall take up rightful spaces in the various areas where we have expertise. The opportunities are there, but we are not tapping all the opportunities as women. So we shall support each other in ensuring that these rightful spaces are filled up by women. And there is a saying that building a winning team, we have to come together as women in pharmacy, keep together as we progress, and work together for success. We have also specific objectives of the group, and some of the objectives, these are 5 objectives, and one of The first one is to provide women pharmacists in Uganda voice and visibility. How are we doing this? By attending meetings, hearing courageous talks from our mentors. Last week on Friday, we had one of the girls to girls side chat, and it was wonderful, and it was speaking out loud on visibility, to be heard and seen. That was one of the platforms that we hope that we shall always have that collaborative approach to ensure that our voice is heard and felt. Then the other objective is to share information on topics of professional interest. Yeah, that platform we have, a WhatsApp platform we have, we hope that members will share more of professional knowledge so that we are able to share knowledge and learn from each other. Then we also hope to share career advancement tips, tools, and opportunities. I've seen members sharing opportunities on the page, and I think it's very encouraging, and we thank those ones who are very active at sharing such opportunities, because it's one of the objectives of the group. Then also the other objective was to acquire new knowledge and skills for creating an effective team approach. As a group, we hope we are working as a team as well. So as we're working as a team, we hope that we shall be able to share knowledge, acquire new knowledge as well, and also skills from our colleagues and also our mentors and our role models. Then the other issue was on the business leads exchange, developing business relationships, exploring business opportunities, and generating business through networking. We've had Dr. Habra on the group sharing, she's selling handbags, cross bags, and the like. We were saying that maybe we can come up with one day for marketing. It's going to be a marketing day so that members can share other businesses they are doing, so that we see how we can support each other in this kind of development. Then those are the objectives of the group, and the golden rules. The golden rules, we are looking at all members that communicate with courtesy and respect for differences of opinion. You may not agree in the opinion, but bring it in a humble way so that you do not hurt anyone in the process. So we expect members to share information and communicate and ensure that they clarify on those issues without crossing, without hurting anyone. Then also we are looking at posts are limited to professional, business, and inspirational themes. Within that bracket, we do not expect posts on other things that are not mentioned in this concept. So the concept talks of information on professional, business, and inspirational themes. Then also always to keep the objectives of the group. Always keep to the objectives of the group. Don't share the irrelevant message about the other topics. Let's try to be focused and be within the objectives of the group. Then politics and religious posts are discouraged. As for the platform of women in pharmacy, we are hoping that we should not popularize politics and religious posts in this group. Let's focus on the objectives of the group. Do not have one-to-one conversations in the group. Switch to the private messages. For example, if you're responding to Harriet, then you can hit Harriet's inbox without posting on the general page, because sometimes people get bored with what is going on. Unless if you're addressing the entire group, then you can share it on the same platform or the same page. Also, recognizing that we need to collaborate with other pharmaceutical experts groups, like the pharmaceutical experts group, the Team Gonsha group, PSC Roundtable. We we shall have our doors open for interaction so that we can also see what we can learn from them. This platform is open to those other networks. My last slide, it talks of the teamwork, the team spirit. And it says that many of us are more capable than some of us, but none of us is as capable as all of us. Meaning, working together as a team is the key for success. With that brief overview, I would welcome questions, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Farida. Can I recommend that any comments, any questions that anybody has, please put them in the chat, because we're going to have a longer session after this, where we're going to talk about reviewing what Farida has presented as where our group would like to go, and our golden rules. So please put those in the chat, and or any comments that you have, and we'll pick them up from there, right? Okay, Donna, can we, I'm trying to keep to the time that we have our guest speakers on with us for a very short period of time. So Donna, can we please go through the survey? And then you will introduce Farida. Sorry, Jackie.
Enid, I think given that the time we had promised our guest speaker is already now, I was suggesting we just go ahead with her talk, because actually the survey confirms what Farida has said. And I think it will be okay to just share those slides briefly at the end. I mean, once we are done with the guest speaker. So in respect of the guest speaker and her time, Jackie, I hope you're there, and I hope you're ready. I see you're there, but I hope you're ready, so I can go ahead with the introduction.
I am ready.
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, let me try and see if I can turn on my video just for a minute. Yeah, again, once again, welcome everybody. I even forgot to remove my mask. I better do that. I was rushing in from somewhere. So we're very privileged this afternoon to have Jackie Namara Rukare to share with us as a startup group on networking and collaboration. I've known Jackie for the last, if I say how long, you'll know how old we are, so let me not say that. So I've known Jackie for the longest time. We were at school together early on, very early on when we were very young, but she's since gone on to have a very illustrious career in marketing. She's currently the managing director of her own firm called the Guru Consult. But prior to that, she's had a career I think that many of us would envy, because she's worked in all the big industries in Uganda. She's worked in the telecom industry. She worked for both Airtel and Vodafone. She's worked in the breweries industry. She worked for Uganda Breweries. She worked for Stanbic Bank. And prior to that, she also worked for Unilever Uganda. That's where I started her management career. But prior to that, she worked for Bank of Uganda. She worked for Rand Consult. So she's had this very illustrious career. And we're really privileged this afternoon that she's here to speak to us. She has over 15 years of experience as she's a marketer, but she has over 15 years experience in the senior management of all these big organizations that I have mentioned. So Jackie, we're really, really happy to have you. And I hope you can, I know I've not done justice to your introduction. So please feel free to tell the ladies more about yourself and your story. And we're really happy to have you. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you, Donna. I had actually included in my remarks something about our age, but since you don't want people to know our age, so I will reserve that comment.
You feel free, if you as a guest speaker say, then yeah.
But it's my pleasure to be with you this evening. I know they've given you a rundown of the CV, but I'll just tell you a little bit of who I am. Jackie Namara Rukare, and I think of myself as a cheerleader in chief, a diabetes warrior mom, a steadfast and loyal friend, plus a collaborator / connector extraordinaire. It really gives me great pleasure to be with you this evening to share a little bit of my story, but I'm also looking forward to learning from you. And Donna, I'm going to spill the beans. This year I turned 50. And while COVID has been stressful in terms of limiting contact with friends and family and restricting business, in a way it's been good because it's forced us to stop and reflect on, you know, when you get to 50, then you have to stop and think, so the past 50 years, what can people say about me? And the next, I don't know how many are left. What will be my story? What will be the legacy that I leave behind? What will I be remembered for? So it has been good for that self-reflection and just trying to get a grip on what you want your story to be in the world. So based on the topic I was given to talk about this evening, I'm just going to focus on 3 things around what it means to be a professional and how to build a space in which you're seen and heard and you're contributing. And the first thing that needs to be clear for yourself is you need to be clear about what sort of talents or expertise you bring to the table. For me, this moment came in the mid-1990s. I was in Australia doing my MBA at the University of Technology in Sydney. And that was the first time I encountered a marketing course. And I enjoyed that course so much that that kind of informed that's the space I wanted to be in. So from that point onward, I didn't have a problem in terms of defining what I wanted to do in terms of my expertise. But what I would like to say is take the time, especially when you're much younger, to go on a journey of exploration and experimentation and try on new things, even if they seem challenging or daunting. My dad used to tell me, why can't you sit in one place? Because you've seen all the places I've worked. So it'd be 2 years here, then another 2 years somewhere else. And it used to frustrate him because in his generation, you had what we used to call permanent and pensionable. You got into a job after school, you worked there for pretty much 30 to 40 years and you retired. So he couldn't understand what I was looking for. Now, for me, I think the MBA program and that exposure to a different way of working and a different way of thinking was fundamental in making me hungry for opportunity, for challenge, and to always keep moving forward, but to keep moving forward into new spaces where I would get to practice what I had learned in marketing. And I was fortunate enough to be or to start in 2 companies, Unilever and Uganda Breweries, which is part of the Diageo group. Those 2 companies are known worldwide for giving a serious grounding in marketing, but it was not going to be the end all and the be all. So marketing is what I did at work, but I didn't think that that's the only thing I could do. So when you think about for yourselves, I know sometimes science courses such as pharmacy can seem career limiting in terms of you have maybe not so many paths to take, but there is always going to be things you can do. Think of your pharmacy degree as the foundation for so many other things that you can do with your life. So it doesn't mean that you have to be stuck. And you can go into whatever area that you want, finance, technology. Those of you who like to write, there's a whole field of health communication and science journalism that you can enter. If you want to go into sales, there's a whole range of medical sales opportunities that are available, into regulatory affairs. In my year at Makerere, we had quite a number of pharmacists who started as pharmacists, but they have since moved on. Isaac Nseroko went from pharmacy to marketing and ran MTN marketing for a long time and is a successful businessman. So being a pharmacist did not restrict him from going in that direction. You have people like Lilian Nyachimwe, started out in pharmacy, had her own pharmacy, was doing both retail and wholesale pharmacy, segued into becoming a major distributor of beauty care products. I don't know if any of you remember Justine from South Africa. There was a time when it was a very big hit in this town. So she was the distributor for the region. And now she's running a company which manages documents. So being a pharmacist did not stand in the way of them moving on and discovering other things they were good at, and basically running with that. The other thing that I know is that you have to choose in terms of mindset, whether you're going to be a fixed mindset person or a growth mindset person. Every time you open yourself up to opportunity and to continuous learning, there will always be something more that you can do. There will always be a new area that you can explore. For me, digital marketing is something which came much later in my career. So I am constantly looking for what can I learn about how to use digital marketing to improve the way we talk to customers, to improve the way we service them, because now we have had to go digital, whether we liked it or not. And how do you create a good experience, both in the physical face-to-face world, but also in the digital world. And so the process of being open to new opportunities and learning is always going to expose you to things which you might think, this one, a typical pharmacist doesn't do this. Because I know when you are growing up and you are listening to family and friends, they'll always tell you, what course did you do? You're a pharmacist. So why are you doing business? So why are you doing that? And at the end of the day, it's not really about what other people want. It's about what makes you happy, what makes you feel like you're making a meaningful contribution. And that means you have to go out and do the things that actually inspire you, that drive you. But you can't do this if you're not open to learning. And it's, in my experience, I try as much as possible to spend at least 1 hour a week learning something new. And you're so fortunate that you live in what we call the .com age, because now pretty much everything is online. So if you don't like to read their articles, if you don't want to read a whole book, for example, you can sign up and get maybe a newsletter or a series of articles, or you can do a podcast, or you can do what we are doing now. You attend a webinar or find an online course. And there's so many resources online that are free that give you the ability to learn new things. So be open to that learning. Then the second thing is to define your purpose. It doesn't matter how much you think you're professional. If you're not clear about what your purpose is in this world, then defining your purpose is kind of like getting a compass. It will guide you into what you should do and shouldn't do. So for me, I knew that I wanted to be doing something, or wanted to be involved in work that was meaningful and that created an impact. But I didn't quite understand what my purpose was until February of 2013, when I attended a program called Female Future Program. It's a leadership program that's run by the Federation of Uganda Employers with the help of the equivalent in Norway. And that program is intended to prepare women for senior leadership roles, but also to get onto boards. And it wasn't until I went through, it's a 9-month program. It's a combination of face-to-face and distance learning. But that is the point where I articulated what I wanted to do. So I'll just read out what my vision is. So my vision is to connect people, ideas, and knowledge for meaningful business and social collaboration, so as to transform lives, businesses, and communities. Now, once I had that time to sit and actually think about it, because sometimes we get caught up in what I call the busyness of life, and we forget to work on ourselves in terms of finding out what is it that truly makes me come to life. Why do I exist on this planet? What's my role and my purpose? And in defining that purpose, it has been a very clear filter for me on what I will and will not do. So if I look at all the places I've worked, it was maybe a happy accident or happy coincidence, but at least I was able to build onto that vision. So with my current consulting firm, Iguru Consult, I'm very clear that I want to work with small and medium businesses to help them actually grow and to use the power of marketing to help them to get that way. In the same vein, all the various platforms where I operate in terms of what I'm currently involved in now. So For the Uganda Marketers Society, we are building a pool of professional marketers. We don't want you to wake up in the morning and be looking for marketing talent and fail to find it. So we are working together as a collective to make sure that we build this pool of professional marketers. I'm also part of a group called Business Networks International, and it's a global network of business owners who are aligned around common values, and we support to grow each other's businesses using what we call referral marketing. Then I'm involved in Rotary. This year I happen to be the president for my club, the Rotary Club of Kitante. If you're available on Thursdays, we are now meeting online from 6 to 7 p.m. And then physically we meet at the Potea Hotel. And it took me very many years to get into Rotary. A baby in Rotary, I'm only just under 3 years. But it was at that point where I was looking for a space. When I looked at my purpose, Rotary provided a good avenue for me to be able to join like-minded individuals in terms of the ethos of service above self, but also access to opportunities to meet new people, but also to business opportunities. Then I teach, and part of that is about paying it forward. So I've been fortunate to have gotten all this experience with all these wonderful companies. So I owe it to the next generation of marketers to make sure that they are getting the same, the benefit of the experience that I got. I should be able to take that. So I teach at UMI and at Matt Abacus, and I teach marketing. And then from a mentoring perspective, I'm involved in mentoring with Girls for Girls and with the Chartered Institute of Marketing and the Uganda Marketers Society. Then because we're looking for that transformation aspect, I'm part of a community of various women leaders across the African continent and probably around the world, but mostly the African ladies, called the Boardroom Africa. And there what I'm looking for is access to those local, regional, and international board opportunities, and being able to network and learn from women who've been there, who are currently serving in those positions, and therefore that helps to inform why I am there. And then because if you remember, I mentioned that I'm a diabetes mom warrior. My son has type 1 diabetes. And so we started a support group called Sugar Cubes, where we provide basically education and do a bit of advocacy work, because not many kids get a chance to have their voice heard. So my purpose has helped to clarify which places I'm going to interact. So I will not be in everything. I know it seems like there are 1,000,001 things, but I have picked those areas very consciously, because if they don't align with what I have identified as my purpose, then I'm not going to get involved in it. Then the third aspect I would like to sort of put on the table is around networking. And I know networking can seem tedious, it can seem like it's too much work, but you need it. And some of us learned this the hard way. So Farida mentioned yesterday the very interesting conversation around being visible. And I was one of those who was always thinking my work should speak for myself, so I don't need, can't people see what I'm doing? And not understanding that early on in my career cost me quite a number of opportunities, because I was waiting for someone to acknowledge it without me defining and telling people this is what I'm out. So networking allows you to go out and tell your story. And Tai Tran has a very simple formula for networking. He says spend 50% of the time networking with people who you aspire to be, or organizations which you aspire to get into. 30% networking with your peers, so or in spaces or with organizations which are close to you. And then 20% paying it forward. So look at the people who are behind you and see what you can do to help them get to the next level. Now in networking, you have to come prepared. So you have to know, why am I here? What do I want to get out of this networking opportunity? Who is my target audience and how am I going to reach them? So come prepared with what we call your elevator pitch. And that elevator pitch is, if I meet somebody and I've been given 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, I have to have all those versions ready depending on how much time I have been given. But constantly also look out for what is it that I can do to make life easy for the people that I'm going to network with. Because if you come outright with a hard sell, then no one is going to give you any time for interaction. And in networking, depth is better than breadth. So what do I mean? You'd rather pick 3 to 5, maybe maximum, networking spaces and really involved and participatory in those spaces versus being in 10 different spaces and you're stretched so thin that nobody even knows you exist in those different networks. So fewer networks, but more engaging. So a deeper relationship as opposed to breadth, which is wider, but you'll just be scratching the surface in each of those 10 spaces. And then of course, be intentional. When you're in these networking spaces, why am I here? What do I want? What is my goal? Am I trying to meet someone? Am I trying to access an opportunity? Am I trying to get new knowledge? And in that networking, I don't know how many of you have had a chance to do what we call personal development plans. If you have a personal development plan and you've looked at all the dimensions, so your financial, your social, your family, your educational, and career, and your spiritual goals, each time you're networking, does any of those networking opportunities feed into your personal development plan? Because if they don't, then you're wasting your time in all the wrong places. And then you might be wondering, I've been here for 10 years, why isn't anything happening? That's probably because none of the things that is in that space works for you for where you want to go. Now, we stress this a lot because Porter Gale, a famous author, says your network is your net worth. So pick your networking spaces carefully, because the relationships that you cultivate in those spaces, you never know where those are going to take you. And when you're in those spaces, are you visible? I think it's Alain Nasime, the founder of Girls for Girls, who always challenges us and tells us, can you do a Google search? If you do a Google search, what are the results? There are very many Jackie Namaras. So when I type in Jackie Namara, is it me who shows up or is it some other, Jackie Namara? So you need to also own your online presence, because if you leave that to a search engine, the search engines have a very simple algorithm. The person who has the most engagement, the person who has the most visibility, when you put in the search words, that's the person who will show up in the first 10 results. So if you have these social media channels that you're on and you're not using them, then that's a wasted opportunity. So if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whichever platform it is, be visible. And on those platforms, show up as a professional. So from your picture to the content that you're sharing, all the way through to the kind of engagement that you have on that platform, we want to see you come out. It doesn't mean you come off as stiff and very formal, but we want to just see a professional projection of yourself. And be clear what you're going to use what platform for. So for me, LinkedIn is my primary social media platform, because that's what for me works in terms of driving the professional angle. And then I use Facebook for more social posts, but I also use Facebook a lot for the things that we do with diabetes. And then Twitter is for just, commentary every now and then, and maybe sharing 1 or 2 opportunities. So there's an overlap in a way, but for example, I don't share a lot of diabetes things on LinkedIn unless it is the kind of thing that I know will appeal to the audience that is on LinkedIn. So I've kind of separated out where I want to do what. And in all those platforms, I am known as Jackie Namara. So a lot of times on Facebook, we see people, and I am Jackie Namara on LinkedIn, and then on Facebook, I'm Foxy Mama 1. It's confusing. If you're going to be Jackie, and be consistent, because then people can't find you. The only time I advocate for you having separate platforms is if you want to have a more playful side, then by all means create a pseudonym, because guess what? Employers these days, what do? They first look on all these social media platforms and see how you present yourself, and that can actually be the filter that makes you unattractive vis-a-vis another potential candidate for an opportunity that is presented. So we need to nurture our online presence. So the 3 things: first, figure out what your talent or expertise is, define your purpose, and then network. Because once you have the first 2 clear, then you have to tell the world this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is how I want to change the world, and I'm looking for partners to help me in this process. And once you've done that, that's the alarm I had set for myself. So once you've done that, then it makes it a lot easier for the world to find you and hopefully for you to tell your story. And last but not least, I would like to draw from some work that was done in, I think it was in the UK, around how you distinguish yourself from others who are like you. And they use the analogy, I'm sort of paraphrasing it, but I would like you as ladies to be red stilettos in a black stiletto world. So in all the different pharmacists and all the other people who have similar qualifications, how visible and how unique and how different are you to the world that you want to get into? So thank you very much for listening to me. I guess it's time for questions.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Those were words of wisdom. We can't trade anything for this kind of wisdom. We're happy to be part of this chat this evening to hear from you. I believe everyone has benefited, and you have a couple of questions from the chat. One question comes from Juliet, and she asks, what happens to your vision? What happens if your vision changes, and should it change anyway along the way? So I don't know if you want to take that, or we couple them together and then you can respond. Please unmute, Jackie.
I said I can take a couple of them at a time.
All right. So the second one is, how do you filter through your purpose and personal brand when you have varying interests? Then how do you send out a message that consistently builds your visibility?
Okay. Maybe I'll take those two, and then I can see a couple of others coming through. So normally we advise that when you do your vision, the vision should be something that's fairly long-term and doesn't necessarily change very often, but it doesn't mean that it is cast in stone. If there are circumstances in the environment or in your own, for yourself, maybe something fundamental has happened in your life to cause that shift, then by all means, make the adjustment or the, whatever changes you need to make so that the vision actually works for you. But in crafting the vision, take the time to actually look at what is the vision is intended almost like an utopian goal, that thing which you're constantly aspiring to reach, but maybe can't quite ever reach. It has to be that kind of long-term stretch goals that you set for yourself. What we normally see that changes a bit more frequently is the mission, and the mission is what you do on a day-to-day basis to help you achieve your vision. But normally vision should be fairly long-term. If you think about some of the brands which are, 50 years, 100 years old, my dad used to have a Volvo when we were growing up, and Volvo has always been about safety from the get-go. That has not changed. They have always said safety is their number one goal in life. What has changed is how safety is delivered. As the technology has evolved, before, safety was really around giving you the most safe, should I say, box around you in terms of the car. But now safety has evolved to include pedestrians. So if you look at a Volvo now, they have all this technology which allows the car to sense that a pedestrian or a cyclist is so close to the car, and it will automatically engage the braking system even without you intervening. So the vision has still remained, but the mission, how they execute on a day-to-day basis, has changed. And then the question on filtering through purpose and personal brand when you have varying interests, and how do you manage How do you message that consistently to build your visibility? If I look at myself as an example, I have varying interests. I have one foot in marketing, another one in business, another in Rotary, another in diabetes. So my fingers are in quite a number of pies. So what I have found works for me is that if I'm clear about my purpose, then when people experience me as the brand, as a personal brand, they should be able to see my purpose brought to life. So what do I mean? So when we talk about personal brands, people want to see it's like an intersection between character and competence. So character is what you stand for, what your values are, what your principles are. And then competence is typically your experiences and your expertise. So when those two come together, then we get your personal brand. Now, your personal brand, we need to see your purpose brought to life in your personal brand. So if I'm claiming to be someone who is a collaborator, who is a cheerleader, how many times do you see Jackie cheerleading someone either in a business space or in a social space? If I'm a collaborator, how many stakeholders have I brought together to do something, interesting? So the purpose, while it's good as a statement, the way I understand it is that you get to live out your purpose in executing what your personal brand is about. And if your purpose is clear, then your messages will be clear. There will be no, I don't know what to call it. I think in mental health, I don't know, is it called schizophrenia? Where you switch from manic state to depressive state. So you don't want to be a brand where people don't quite know today who is showing up. Is it the manic person or the depressed person? We're trying to go for that consistency. Yeah, you all know those things where you walk in one day, you look at a person and you're like, today's a bad day. Yeah, we have bad days, it's human. But at a brand level, there should be a level of consistency, regardless of what's happening in whatever is going on in my life at that particular point in time. And so consistency is something that you learn through practice and experience. It's not something that will come overnight as you go through your life's journey. Someone asked, Josephine was asking, what are some of the limitations you've met in your visibility to make people change or grow? I talked about them in some of the things I was talking about. Fixed mindset versus growth mindset. If you're dealing with someone who says, this is the way we've always done things and we are not going to change. So you either take it or you leave it. There's not much you can do to change that person's mind. You will keep working at showing them that there's a different way, but it's highly unlikely that they're ever going to change if that's the kind of stand they have taken. The other thing that I talked about before was expecting that people will notice and reward you for your hard work if you don't say what it is that you have been doing. And the networking opportunities, which include things like attending meetings, that's when you get a chance to tell people, this is what I am doing. On your online platforms, that's where you get a chance to tell people what you are doing. So the limitations will always be there. But remember, visibility is no one else's business but yours.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie, for your responses. We are running out of time, but just to tie up everything that you have shared with us this evening, I would give you some time to respond to just these three. I believe you can summarize that in a few minutes. How, for example, what are the networks that one has to be a part of? For example, if you're at senior management in private or in public sector, and also most of the time we are bad bargainers when it comes to pricing ourselves. We have something to offer, but we undercut ourselves. How have you overcome that? Then what would you do differently if you were 30? Because most of us are 30 or approaching 30, and we believe 30 is critical. Every decision we make in our 30s is critical. So want to know, what decisions should we be making in terms of career growth or business growth? What would you do differently if you rolled back the clock to that? from your lessons? And how would we also determine if our networking is actually returning value?
Okay, what it would be to go back to 30. I think at 30, you are young enough to still be able to take some risks and old enough to have a bit of experience under your belt, so you kind of know what works and doesn't work for you at that point in time. So if you want to progress, whether it's at work or in the career, is first and foremost, who knows that you're looking for opportunities for advancement? Because I believe the last people who had a system where you had a patriarch, or what they call it, a relationship of patronage between the employer and employee, was maybe my father's generation, he's in his 80s, where the employer was like your parent and they looked after you and they kept, that doesn't exist anymore. If you don't speak up and tell people, this is what I'm looking for, these are the kind of opportunities I want to be exposed to, that's where you'll stay, because no one knows that you're interested. So when those opportunities come, you'll watch them go to other people who articulated that. So the first thing is you have to become your advocate for the things that you want in the workplace or for the things that you want in business. And that's where the networking comes in, because it gives you an opportunity to share those needs with a variety of people and for you to be able to access their networks in case those opportunities present themselves. Then you have to be prepared. So it's one thing to say, I'm looking for this opportunity, but when it is presented to you, then you must show up. So if you want to become, I remember in Airtel, we had this long-standing battle between marketing and the technical team, so that the engineers who set up the network. And I was always entering into these arguments and debates with the technical team to say, you should be putting up the best stations and providing coverage where we tell you they're customers, not the other way around. It shouldn't be a decision based on the best technical position, because the best technical position might be in the middle nowhere, where there are no clients. And at that point, the team was like, you think you can do the network planning better than us? Here, plan the network. And they thought I was going to back off. I said, no problem, bring it on. So here I was, I hadn't the foggiest idea what I was doing, but I was like, I can learn. It's not rocket science. So I spent about 2 weeks sitting with some of the engineers and working through their network planning, how they did it, how they make the decisions. And I said, okay, now that I understand that, I'll just layer the market information on top of that. So I did it and then handed back and said, okay, this is where I want network. So you figure out a technical solution to deliver that network. So if you want to advance, you also have to be open to taking the risk. And I think there's an expression that says you learn how to fail well, even if it doesn't work out. Fail well. You took the chance, you probably or hopefully learned something new in the process, and that then removes the fear of trying new things you don't know, and you're so worried too scared to even try, because you're so worried about what your peers are going to say and in case you fail. So to my 30-year-old self, I would say, be open, take the risks, and be prepared when the opportunities come your way. In terms of negotiating, especially for pay, first and foremost, get your facts right. So figure out, what is my value? In the course of the last 6 months, 1 month, we used to call it in Stanbic your portfolio of evidence. Every time you'd be going for your performance review, you go with a list of things. This is what I did. This is the value I contributed. This is how my effort contributed to this. Because remember, at a certain point, people want to see value contribution. It's not outputs that I sold so many tablets. No. On the bottom line, how did the work that you did, which new client did you bring in, which took bottom line from 1 million shillings to 3 million shillings? It has to go beyond the normal outputs of our everyday work. So what value are you actually bringing to the business? It's very difficult for someone to argue and refuse to give you a pay raise based on value. And when you go into any negotiation, you have to say, this is where my ceiling is, and this is where my floor is. If in the point of negotiation, we get to the floor, this is the point at which I'll say, you know what, I think clearly this is not a relationship that is going to continue to work, because you're not seeing the value that I bring to the organization. And therefore, sometimes it's time to take what you do to someone else who can appreciate your value. I know it's now in these times that we're in particularly, we stomach a lot of things because I need to pay the bills. So again, there's that risk. So what I would advise, and I think it's something you've had several places, have a side hustle. Something else that you're doing in case you need to make a drastic decision in your career. You have a side hustle that can at least pay, your rents and pay your airtime and fuel and some basic amenities, because you don't want to be in. I know, like for many bankers or people in the banking industry, there's an expression we call golden handcuffs. The benefits are so good in terms of loans and whatnot, and so people get stuck and are afraid to negotiate for better pay because they're getting these other benefits, and they think, if I ask for more money, then I'll seem ungrateful. But remember, if you can't value yourself, the employer is not going to stand up and say, oh, we appreciate the value you give. No. Someone else from outside the company will come and negotiate for a much bigger paycheck than you who has been there and delivered constantly. But if you're not telling people what value you bring when you're having your contributions, your conversations around performance, then nobody cares. Sorry, there was a third question. I can't remember. There was a third one.
How do you determine that your networking is returning value?
So networking is a long-term engagement. So if you enter into a networking thinking it's going to be short-term in terms of, I went and I networked today in Rotary and tomorrow I'm going to get this fantastic thing, then you're going to be very disappointed. Remember, networking is about building relationships. And in building relationships, no one is going to give you any access until they trust you. So you have to first build that trust in order for people to then tell you, oh, by the way, there's this opportunity here, or we're thinking about doing this. Would you like to participate, or can you recommend someone that you think can help us in this particular space? So first and foremost, it's going to be long-term. Some of the opportunities I get access to are based on relationships that I've had for the past 20 years. So if that can give you a framework. So don't think it's going to be immediate here and now. There may be one or two things that come immediately, but the more meaningful or the more valuable ones, it will take some time for you to realize that. So in the networking, don't go in with the mindset or the feeling of what is in it for me. And if I can't see what is in it for me immediately, I'm out of here. Instead, going with the mindset of what can I do for the people that I meet in that networking space? Because ultimately, if you show people that you can help them to get what they want, they will also reciprocate and help you to get what you want. But if you enter it from a gimme position, you'll be cut off. No one will give you anything because they'll say, she's a taker. That one is a taker. Don't bother. But if you're known as a giver, then people are always looking for you because they know you will be able to give. And even if you can't give at that material time, they know that is, how you operate within that space. I hope I've answered the questions.
Yes, so much so. Thank you so much. We are so honored to have you on this platform this evening. Really, thank you for honoring our invitation and sharing your wisdom. At this point, I would like to invite Donna to go through the survey and the results, and then we'll respond to that. Thank you so much, Jackie.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jackie, once again. We were so privileged to have you. You've addressed a lot of things that I think are really important to us as a group. What are we here for? We're here to network, build our relationships. And thank you for saying that is not an overnight thing. So we need to work at building trust and building relationships. Thank you so much. I'll ask Enid if she can quickly share her screen so that I talk through your screen, please.
Donna, let me do that. It seems to be, I had your PowerPoint up, but I can't seem to see it, and it's puzzling me quite a bit.
Enid, are you able to share?
Yes, I'm trying to do that now.
I felt that. Should I try mine?
Please try yours, because I had your PowerPoint up, but then I cannot seem to access it now. Okay, I have it up now.
Okay. You can go to the slideshow mode.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just give this a very quick review. We thought it was important to share with you the results of the survey that we did. And it kind of fits in very well with, I think, some of the things that have been said this afternoon. In it, we had 66 responses with one unusable response, giving us a response rate of 38%, because we have 172 participants on the group. And I think today we've managed to get about 30 people on this group. So I think, as Jackie has said, relationship building takes time. People need to understand what we are doing and why we want to get together. But for now, we have a database of information, save for that one response, that unusable response that we had. But we have the names and emails and telephone numbers of a good number of pharmacists, lady pharmacists. So that's a positive. In case anybody wants to access this database, it's now available for us. Yes, so we also looked at what professional areas, the professional areas where we are. Of course, as we expect, many of us are in community pharmacy or pharmaceutical distribution. It was good to know that at least 7 of us are in hospital pharmacy. We have many people in research. I think what was very striking is we don't have ladies in local government, at least none of the ones who responded. So I thought it's an area where, as professionals, we must really try and see how do we encourage, especially, I guess, the young ones who are not yet already set in their career in certain spaces, maybe to look into local governments, because that's where I think we can have a lot of impact as professionals. If we are not out in the districts, in the districts, in the hospitals out there, I think our impact will continue to be very limited. So it's a space that I thought we must try and do something about. Yeah, so the other major question that we had was, what would we want with the women in pharmacy, the online community? What do we want to do as an online community? And by far, the responses were around sharing opportunities in the sector and mentorship. And I think we've started today on the mentorship journey by having Jackie come in and speak to us. I think that's how you get mentored. You learn from people who have walked these journeys before you, and try to draw from their knowledge, experience, and expertise. So as an online community, we shall continue to try and focus on that, I guess. And then we have, I think one of the things that has come up on the group was whether we should get into let's sort of non-professional issues. And that was the third option. We had webinars on general issues. People are interested in parenting, in entrepreneurship, in investment. So we had quite a good number. About half of the respondents are interested in that. these general issues. So it's something that the administrators have to look into going forward. Then again, in the group recently has been the idea of having whether we can use the group as a marketing platform for side hustles. And I think as Jackie has encouraged us to have side hustles, I guess it's something that we maybe need to be more open about to support each other with our side hustles. So yeah, a lot of people are interested in using the community as a marketing platform. We had a small number who are interested in the book club, and then the platform to be used to just provide general information. Yeah, so that was the result on that. Yes, and the last question I think was around how else can women in pharmacy be beneficial to we asked as individual respondents whether there was any other way that the platform could be, the community could be beneficial to us. And really there were only 32 people who responded to this particular question. And they were talking about mentorship, which was also in the main question. So I think everybody is looking out for opportunities for mentorship and how we can help each other, support each other, rise together. But then there was also some people who are interested in joint businesses. How can we set up pharmacy businesses together? Are there any opportunities for that? And I think it relates to the next option as well about how do we impact each other? How do we help each other out as far as, again, business, professional growth. People have career questions and they want to know whether they can get one-on-one support from members of the community. So I think that's something, again, we need to discuss a little bit further. Then fewer respondents had ideas around physical meetings, sports, circles, general topics. So there were just a few of those. So I guess the big thing remains mentorship and supporting business, supporting each other in business. Yeah, so just to say thank you again to all those who took the survey. I think it sort of underlines what Farida said earlier and some of the things that Jackie has said, the importance of networking, of collaboration. And I thank you all who've taken time out of your Sunday to join this catch up. And I thought I would end with a quote which says, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." So for me, the issue of our profession and our professional practice matters a lot. And I think it's good that we are starting to have a voice around it and to try and steer our profession, our professional practice in a way that, you know, helps it become better. So I'm very happy that today we have this opportunity to speak out about things which matter, in this case, our profession as pharmacists. And I hope that we can continue to use this opportunity and grow it even bigger. Thank you so much, Enid, and back to you.
Okay, thank you, Donna, for thank you for sharing from the survey. I think when most of us filled it in, we actually didn't think we were going to give you as much useful information. So thank you for sharing with us the findings from the survey. Does anybody have any questions? I've not been checking on the chat. Have there been any questions that have come through on the chat, Harriet? Or any comments? If anybody has any comments or any questions right now, we can take 5 minutes to discuss the survey. And as Donna mentioned, what it is sharing is very similar to what was shared in the, it's very similar to what Farida shared as our goals for this platform. So does anyone have any questions? Zalwango, you were saying something?
So there are people who are asking if the recording will be available. Want to inform you, yes, the recording will be available. It will be shared to your emails, those who availed them. And others are saying they haven't been, they're not on this platform, so we'll enlist you onto the Women in Pharmacy platform, and then there you can see other opportunities that come by so that we continue to interact with each other.
Okay, may I please continue now?
Yes, please.
Yes, so I was just wanted to give a thank you note, but the other thing that I really believe is very important, just as an addition, is as we're looking out for opportunities of networking, maybe from even other external leaders who can come and share with us, even within us, we have people who are taking on great positions in their different organizations that can be as a great source of mentorship. So we would really like to see some people come on board. For example, Donna, you were once in NDA. I'm sure there's so much you picked out of EA, and these are lessons learned that I'm sure some people can benefit on from the group. And there's so many other doctors that I may not really know, but for Madame Donna, it's quite evident because, you know, with NDA, everyone knows. But my issue really is how can we even within amongst us share? We can always call people onto the platforms who can be able to share with us lessons they are learning within their different spheres of work, that even amongst ourselves we can pick on as we even continue to search for other individuals outside the group that can add on to what we already have. That's just something I thought I would add.
I also have something to share, just in 2 minutes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we hear
yes,
you.
we can hear you.
Okay, I was wondering how many of us on this platform or as women have pharmacies, have started up pharmacies. Maybe we could share some sort of insight on how to manage a good pharmacy. I don't know whether there are many. We could actually get to know them in our WhatsApp.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Antonia. Very pertinent comments. Let's look within ourselves for mentors and champions and leaders. And Sister Antonia has given us even more direction on that, specifically for those who have already set up and are running pharmacies. What insights can you share with everybody else? Any other comments on this? Any other
yes,
comments?
Enid, I wanted to follow on Sister Antonia's point about pharmacy owners. Yeah, I think that's very, very important, and maybe we can post a question in the group so that we get to know who are pharmacy owners. I know in the group we have Grace Naikazi, and we have Jackie Takubwa is also a pharmacy owner, but I think it's a very important point. So at that, I think they have, there's a lot of wealth that they can draw from each other, that those who are actually pharmacy owners, and also inspire the rest of us who are not. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that will actually be a very good topic for the next session, or even to be followed through on the WhatsApp group. And we could actually follow it by people having, if you also have some very direct questions that you would like to ask the pharmacy owners, then we can put them, we can see how best to take forward that discussion. Yeah, so I've put the question in the group. Any pharmacy owners in the group, just mention yourselves. Because we do not have very much time left today, we won't delve into that discussion, but it's definitely something that has been earmarked for discussion. Okay, it's 6 o'clock right now. There's just one more item that we had on our agenda. We've had very good discussions today. We had Farida giving us a historical basis of our profession. I don't know if many of us knew, but we do have a history as women, as pharmacists. Our history still has a number of elements of discrimination, both in employment, in ownership, and we also recognize as women and pharmacists that there are some issues that we need to address to make ourselves stronger as a group. And so we've seen the objectives of this group. If anybody has any more comments on the objectives of the group, I think it will be good to share them in the WhatsApp conversation so that we can take it further. And then we had a very good presentation from Jackie, who has really opened up this package for us on what it means to be a professional. What is your, what are your talents? What talents do you have? What are you presenting? And have you articulated those for yourself? And also, how do you now go ahead to define your purpose? And how do you go ahead to share with the people that you want to work with? How do you share all that with them? And then the very important topic of networking. We had some very good questions which were responded to. I saw a few coming in afterwards, but I think those ones we can ask her if she agrees and she has some insights on those. We can also share them in the group. But the very important issue of networking, of visibility, of putting ourselves forward as women. And so right now where we are is that we do have our goals, we have our purpose, we are of one mind on where we want to go, and we know what it is that we need to, that we would like to see as a product from women in pharmacy. What is going to be satisfactory to us as a group. And so right now what is left is a process which we already started to do it, but we now need to actually we can all do this together with one mind. We need to now start to take action. We need to move forward with what we've agreed. We need to put in our 2 cents here and there so that we can all contribute towards this group. Right now, the group has a few admins, and I think the most immediate action that is required from all of us is that we need admins. We need a few more admins, because the more admins that we have, then the easier it is to move the group forward. And the more ideas we have on the table, we have seen that we have very varied age groups. We've got people who are interns. We have people who've been in the field for a few more years than that. And it would be good to have people from a wide, from this wide breadth of knowledge and capacity. So we would like to have people volunteering to be admins, and I will ask, I don't know of the view that we do not volunteer you, but you just volunteer yourselves. So please, if anybody is ready to take up this action, we know that we have a number of issues that hold us back, things which we are going to discuss in the next meetings. We were discussing the imposter syndrome on the group as things that stop us from volunteering ourselves or stop us from saying yes to any calls to action. But I would like that if anybody feels that they have the time, they have the energy and the will to be an admin, please, we are imploring that you volunteer for these. For this, we have only 1 minute before we end this webinar, before we end this chat. So please put your comments onto the WhatsApp group. We are very hopeful that we are going to see a number of people. The more the merrier, and at this stage, so we do not have a limit on the number of admins that we need. It is an opportunity also for a few people to step outside of their comfort zone. So please, please volunteer for that small task of being an admin. Otherwise, I thank you all for coming together today for this chat. It has been very interactive. You've been a very good audience. I appreciate that I've got to know a lot more pharmacists than I knew even yesterday. And I'm hoping that we can continue in this spirit and bring somebody along to the chats. I thank Harriet. Do you want to say something in closing? My co-host, my co-moderator.
Being a Sunday, it's quite scary scheduling an interaction like this. So honestly, we thank you guys for turning up for this call, for this discussion. It's opening us to more opportunities. Now that we know that you're interested in such opportunities, we'll mobilize more. And it's a very good opportunity for learning, for interacting. I mean, this wisdom we've taken from Jackie today, this time you would have spent it maybe watching a movie, which will not build you, but this is wisdom, you know? So please turn up when we have when we organize for such platforms to share wisdom or tap into such networks. Turn up and inspire other people to show up as well, and share contacts of those who haven't joined the group to join. So we thank you so much, and thank you everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you
before we sign up,
hello,
yes,
before we conclude, yeah, don't we have any volunteers? Don't conclude before we have any volunteers. At least we should get one.
One person.
I have a question, ladies.
Yes.
What does it entail to be an administrator? What does it entail to be an administrator?
So to be an administrator,
give a more detailed response.
It's okay. What we are requiring from the administrator, you're the behind the scenes guys, mobilizing, you know, thinking, steering the group into a particular direction. So we need more people to help us with mobilization. We need more people to help us with, we are gifted differently. One may be gifted with, you know, social networking, you know, these social networks platforms and everything. One may be gifted in communication, in different talents. So we need as many as can be to be able to tap into a wider scope of talent.
Yes, I can be a volunteer. I can nominate myself for that. I believe I can be able to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Siada, thank you.
Yes, I'd also like to take this opportunity to share. I had shared already on our women platform, because when we started the platform, the one thing I picked out was we are here for growth and development.
Yes.
As women, whether within the pharmaceutical field or even outside the pharmaceutical field, but as long as it's about developing and growing ourselves as women. And for me personally, one of the things that I have used to learn a lot has been through interaction with people who are in areas where you're seeking probably learning or understanding. And I've been trying to network with people who I know, and I had already posted, I don't know if you saw it, but I had talked to the president and CEO of Management Sciences for Health. She's Marianne Wetmouth. She sits in Washington, DC. She's great. She has had a great career trajectory in global leadership, particularly in areas of health, whether it's system strengthening, whether it's vaccines, whether it's project management. And I know there are people who are really interested in such areas, but I also believe that leadership growth and development is key for each and every single person, whether you want to look into starting your own business, whether you want to look into growing in an organization. You can't do it without leadership. We have to learn those skills, and probably it's the reason why as ladies we keep being left behind, because some of us are not very comfortable with leadership, because it does come with its challenges. So just to cut the long story short, I'm going to repost on the platform. My request is, please, if for those of us who are really interested in this topic, we need to engage her. We need questions that we believe are pertinent to us as individuals, because I'm trying to come up with a Q&A. She requested for one, so that she can see what it is that we would like her to share with us. The webinar is scheduled for the 4th of September. It will be a Wednesday, 2nd. It's going to be a Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. So people who are having questions in that area, I'm please requesting you send in questions. I would like to come up with a question sheet. I send it to her. So that by the time she's coming in, she's really connecting with what we would like to hear, not just anything out of the random. Thank you very much.
If you'd allow me, the moderators, if I can jump in there. So thank you so much, Ziada. I think we will have to take that up very actively and as a group and make sure that we do justice to the CEO of MSH. I mean, that's such an important person, taking her time to come and share her wealth of wisdom with us. So I think that the administrators will make sure that we support you in whatever way we can. And I'd like to really thank you and Sister Antonia so much for stepping forward to help us with this task. I think it's an invaluable task, and we're very happy to have you. I just thought we should also not close without acknowledging the Pharmaceutical Society of Uganda that have hosted us this evening. So we thank in absentia our president, our vice president, and the council. But in particular, and the secretary, I beg your pardon, but in particular Kennedy, I think he's still somewhere in the background. Kennedy, thank you so much. He's done so much to make sure that this day happens. And we really, really appreciate you, Kennedy. Thank you so much. Back to you, Harriet and Enid.
I was just typing a thank you to Zaida. That I don't want, we are running out of time, but yes, we look forward to the webinar, and we also appreciate you being proactive and volunteering. And we believe we need more people with that who will really capture the whole spirit of why do we need to mobilize ourselves as women in pharmacy? Is it just another organization, or is it because we want to lift ourselves up as women and stop, being the backbenchers and, so thank you so much for volunteering.
Okay, and thank you all of you for your participation today.